My name is George Falconer. Please like and subscribe. This is Peniel. We're just going to take our sister and go if you're not circumcised. And that's the end of the matter. Well, that was never going to happen, was it? They must have put it in such a fashion that it sounded like there was an actual choice in the matter. I would love to have been a fly on the wall to hear the tone of the voices about how this was said. So it sounds like you've got a choice to be circumcised or not. If you're not circumcised, we're not going to intermarry. If you are circumcised, then we'll do as you ask. Their proposal seemed good to Hamor and his son Shechem. The young man, who was the most honoured of all his father's household, lost no time in doing what they said, because he was delighted with Jacob's daughter, infatuated with her. She must have been a stunning-looking woman. So Hamor and his son Shechem went to the gate of their city to speak to their fellow townsmen. "These men are friendly toward us," they said. "Let them live in our land and trade in it. The land has plenty of room for them. We can marry their daughters and they can marry ours, but the men will consent to live with us as one people only on the condition that our males are circumcised as they themselves are. Won't their livestock, their property and all their other animals become ours?" So they want the livestock and everything from Jacob's family. They think this is working in their favour, that everything that belongs to Jacob's family will become theirs. Oh dear, how wrong. "So let us give our consent to them, and they will settle among us." All the men went out of the city gate, agreed with Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male in the city was circumcised. 3 days later, while all of them were still in pain, two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, now remember, this is where later on Jacob has effectively cursed them because of their violence. This is the incident that Jacob was. They put Hamor and his son Shechem to the sword, and took Dinah from Shechem's house and left. The sons of Jacob came upon the dead bodies and looted the city where their sister had been defiled. They had thought they would get all of Jacob's possessions. Instead, they are put to death and their city is looted. So it became the property of Jacob's family. They seized their flocks and herds and donkeys and everything else of theirs in the city and out in the fields. They carried off all their wealth and all their women. So they took off the women as well, and children, taking as plunder everything in the houses. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me by making me a stench to the Canaanites and the Perizzites, the people living in this land. We are few in number, and if they join forces against me and attack me, and my household will be destroyed." But they replied, "Should he have treated our sister like a prostitute?" Well, of course they were right. He shouldn't have done that. Jacob is very strategic and realizes this could cause a great deal of trouble. If other people unite and form partnerships against us, we could be destroyed. Just for a moment, Jacob is not thinking about God's promises and how they would become a great nation. And when you're living in a situation, you often can't see beyond it. You can only see the immediate. And Jacob's saying, we are very few, and they are many. If they decide to take revenge upon us because of what you, my two sons, have done, by killing members of their family, or killing them, go out and kill them. And on the other hand, God hasn't said, well, they were quite right. God is sometimes silent. And we need to do what's wise. In this case, this has happened without Jacob's consent, and I suspect it was done without Jacob's knowledge, and Jacob only found out about it afterwards. And Jacob is very angry and worried because these people could rise up against him and blame Jacob and all his family for their men being put to death and their women being taken away and the livestock plundered. So we go on to the next chapter. And at long last, God speaks. Then God said to Jacob, "Go up to Bethel and settle there, and build an altar there to God who appeared to you when you were fleeing from your brother Esau." This is a reminder about a vision that Jacob had about the ladder leading up to heaven. and about how God had promised that he would become a great nation. This is many years later, and Jacob would remember the vision and the promise that he got at that time. And God is reminding him of the promise that he gave to him, the same promise that was given to Abram and Isaac, that they would become a great nation. He's reassuring Jacob, yes, the situation is fearful, but you will survive. My promise is enough. I will protect you. So Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, get rid of the foreign gods that you have with you, and purify yourselves and change your clothes. Get rid of the foreign gods. Where did the foreign gods come from, eh? Perhaps the foreign gods came from the woman that they had taken into captivity. That would be a logical conclusion. Or they could have come from somewhere else. But one way or another, there are false gods among them, and they have to be gotten rid of. Then come, let us go up to Bethel, where I will build an altar to God, the one and only true God, who answered me in the day of my distress, when Esau was pursuing him, and who has been with me wherever I have gone. So they gave Jacob all their foreign gods they had and the rings in their ears, and Jacob buried them under the oak at Shechem. And they set out, and the terror of God fell upon the towns all around them, so that no one pursued them. The very thing Jacob was afraid of. No one pursued them, because when they trusted in the Lord, nobody dare pursue them. But remember, Dinah, Jacob's only daughter, she must have worked hard for the family, cooking and cleaning for them, doing all the household duties, and well loved by her brothers. Tremendously well loved by her brothers, and loved by her father, even although her father didn't think highly of her mother. And she would know about the things that Jacob had done, that he had fled from Esau, and that he had come to Laban, and his own goods had built up to such an extent that Laban and his family became fearful and jealous of Jacob. And Jacob ran away from Laban, because he thought, Laban's going to put me to death, or he's going to pursue me, because I have been looking after his cattle, and the agreement was I could have the marked ones. Well, the marked ones proved to be the most fruitful. Jealousy can stir up all sorts of emotions. So she would have known that Jacob had run away from there, and that he had all his sons and her. I wonder how that made her feel. You know, there are members of my family that we're at odds with, because my father outsmarted his older brother, and he's outsmarted his uncle. And I'm the only girl in this family. I do all the household chores. I expect she did that with her mother and all the other ladies that Jacob was married to or had sons by. But that would certainly affect her as a person. Nevertheless, when she's defiled, her brothers stood by her and didn't just hand her over to the man who had defiled her. She must have hated him. It says he loved her, but it doesn't say that she loved him. She must have hated this man who defiled her. And we are told in that passage that that shouldn't have happened. Now, did Jacob's sons, his two sons, when they went out and lied and got these people all circumcised, and in their pain were unable to fight and their two sons put them to death. Were they doing God's will? I will leave you with that.